I think you have to accept record.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Hey, what's up, everybody? Jason from Straight Edge Knives. You got to bear with us a little bit. This is my first time doing a Zoom recording. I'm here with Jason Breeden. He's the designer of the ATM knife from Tops. It's a really cool blade, different design. We haven't seen in a while, and he's gracious enough to join us and explain the concept behind this design and the uses for it. Jason, what do you got?
Hey, Jason, how you doing? Good to see you today. Yeah, so little history there. I'll give you first about Tops. I actually started talking to Tops in the late 90s and to Mike and submitted a lot of different little ideas there. And the ATM was one of them. The Black Rhino is another one that I did with Tops years ago and still seems to have some popularity. But if you look there at the ATM, some of the background on that, at the time, I wanted a light little sort of chopping tool, but also sort of an ulu shape. Tops did a great job, still does, with the the jimping on the back, give you a little bit of thumb rest there as you were just demonstrating. With the handles and the liners there, it's a really nice looking knife. Turned out great. Has a good flow of lines. We did a little bit of a false edge on the back, as you can see there in the knife. It helped to amplify the point a little. The knife's not really a, sort of a bird and trout knife, right? So it's got a pretty blunt tip, but it did give it some ability there to, dig in a little if needed. A blunt tip like that can be very useful when it comes to, maybe chipping out wood or something of that nature. You don't have to worry too much about that tip breaking.
Yeah, or if you had to make like a bow divot hole,
Yeah.
possibly,
Yeah.
you wouldn't crack the tip off. Trying to catch it in the light so you can kind of see that false edge right here.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, that kind of tapered swedge almost.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and the knife overall too, if you choke up on it a little bit there at the top, yeah, and you can even kind of pinch grip it and use it a little bit as
Oh,
like an that's really one of my favorite is I like a flowing single edge, a total curve or arc there from tip to back. It's not always achievable. Most knives have sort of a combination of radiuses there that go on in an edge. But that's a very easy knife to work and sharpen. Even file work in the field. I grew up a lot, cutting wood and sharpening chainsaws and sharpening machetes and things like that. So you always had a file sort of in your pocket. And a knife like that's easy because you're sort of following one profile all the way. So you kind of get that feel sharpening in the field, and it works well.
yeah, so you can just like kind
Right.
of like that easy. Yeah, one continuous swoop. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
like how, like, if you choke up on it like this, I really like this jimping they did up here, or this
Yeah.
kind of, it looks really cool, but then it's when you choke up on it, that's where your thumb naturally goes. It goes right over the top of that, no problem.
Right. Yeah.
And then you also have some jimping right here on the back.
That's right. They did a great job of putting spots there for handle retention, and that was very early on in my career. Actually, that was one of the few knives that are still in production or even were made with a hand drawn profile. So I actually just sat down and sketched that up and actually cut one out of wood years ago. Just messing around with that positioning of the thumb to the finger cutout, and then Tops did a great job of translation from the design to the jimping, and so I really like that. I also like the way that we worked on a couple of ideas and sharing, and so talk about those. One of them is the lanyard, if you want to show that. So just kind of a hidden lanyard hole in the back. I've always been a fan of that, and I thought it turned out really well. It sort of doesn't get in the way sometimes, or it just sort of comes straight out. And I always like the way that turned out. And you can actually, if you want to change colors or different types of material, you can just feed the old one out and pull the new one through. Works really well as a way to continue that on with your own whatever cord or whatever you'd like to use there for a lanyard, add a bead or things like that. So
Yeah, that's really cool. That is really nice. It just beads in. It makes it really clean. Plus, if you didn't want the lanyard, you take it off. It's clean. There's nothing. There's no hole there that. Some people may or may not like that, but it's really clean. I like that.
yeah. And then the large cutout there also just above it for your finger. So I wanted something that was glove usable there, and that choil there. So it really gave a nice big opening. And if you got gloves on, it's still, you seat in it very well and don't want to slide off. Right. You got big hands. So, you can see that there, that you got, kind of multiple grips. You can grip back or forward on that. So
Yeah, and I wear XL in mechanics gloves, and yeah, you choke up, down, try to get the right camera angle here. But yeah, it feels really good. One thing I thought was really cool too, or it was different. It caught me off guard when I first got it, was the sheath. The sheath is, it seems like a basic sheath, but there is a little secret to it
there
that
is.
the first time I tried to pull the knife out, I took it and I was all, hey, like, what's up with I couldn't pull it out. And then I realized, oh, you gotta rock it out.
Right.
That was, so I mean, you definitely have serious retention with this. Nobody's gonna walk up and be able to pull that out on you, but you just do a slight rock and it pops out and you're good to go. Then
Yeah.
rocks right back in. And I thought that was
Especially on
cool.
the
I hadn't
belt.
seen that before.
Yeah. So even on the belt, that works really nice because you sort of, whether you're right or left-handed, if you want to, orient it a certain way on your belt, you can just tilt back, or pull forward, however you want to wear it. You can wear it sort of inside the waistband, outside, different ways, and that, what that does too is that's a very short and heavy blade. So it would be very easy with that amount of profile dropping down from the finger retention area there, that, yeah, if that did not have that locking mechanism, I feel like that knife could come out very easily because you would have such a wide gap of the opening of the sheath right there. And with that amount
Yeah.
of weight, yeah, it would just come straight out pretty easily. So the locking mechanism really works well on that knife. And actually probably ought to use that in some more things, but
Yeah,
it is,
this ain't
it
coming
does
out.
well.
I mean, you
Yeah,
fall down the side of a mountain, they're gonna find you at the bottom with your knife still in the sheath.
that's right.
But and what's cool too is like these little the retention bumps, I guess, if you will,
Yeah.
they don't get in the way. They don't. I don't think they make the blade look ugly or weird, or they're not in the way. They're they blend in really nicely with the whole package.
Yeah. And, I've got a little saying when it comes to designing, that if you make it look like it's purposeful, then it makes more sense to people, right? My designs tend to be form first or function first and then form to follow. But I do like to clean designs up and try to make them look, appealing to the eye, to get that general overall shape and profile that I'm looking for to do a certain type of work or to be used in a certain situation primarily. What's great about the knife is over the years, I've heard a lot of different people comment on, ways to use it. And, it really, like you said, the way it fits in the hand and everything, it's kind of, been a real legacy piece for Tops, and just continues to have popularity. I think you can push cut really well with it. If you're sort of shaving down on a stick, you've got a lot of big surface area, and it'll chop. The way that also the way the end of the handle's made with the hidden lanyard. I really wanted a way to sort of snap cut with your wrist a little bit. So yeah, you can just kind of, yeah, grab right there. Perfect.
Just kind of do a quick.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's definitely feels really comfortable in the hand. And the other thing I noticed too that I liked about it, like you're saying, like push cuts, or if you have to grab it from the top, is all of this is rounded very nicely. So you're not going to it's not going to dig into your hand, cause hot. I don't feel like it'll cause hot spots if you're having to grab it up here to, like I said, do those pinch grips.
right. And Tops, just, to round it all off, they do a great job with their handle scales, premium quality, everything, the coating. You just can't beat, one life, one knife. I mean, they live by that, and really did a great job bringing the design to life. So I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's very cool. This is one of those ones where I'd always seen it in the catalog, and um, I don't know, for whatever reason, passed over it. But then when I actually won this from Tops during one of their live podcasts. And when I got it, I thought to myself, why was I waiting on this one? Like, it's after I got it, I was like, it feels really good. I really like the way it feels. I like how I can get up here. Um, and I'm excited. I'm glad I'm getting to talk to you about it, because over the next couple of days, I'm going to get outside and actually make as long as the weather holds up, I'm going to get outside. I'm actually going to do some chopping on some seasoned almond wood with it, just to, and kind of put it through some paces and do a video on it. And so I'm really glad we're able to talk to you today about this, to get some more insight on it before I do that video.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last time I want to see it look that nice, Jason, right?
No, I know. I want to beat on it some.
There you go.
It's funny, the other day when we were talking, we were talking about designs, and we were talking about how sometimes, like, I've tried to design some stuff, and I was sitting here and I pulled out a bunch of stuff that I've made, and I went in the garage and I have some pieces that I hadn't finished yet, and I go, holy crap, I must have subconsciously did this, but this is something I started on probably 4 months ago, but I kind of just sat on it and I haven't been really working on it too much. But
oh yeah, look at that.
I got it out and I go, holy crap, it's not the same, but
no,
I
but
mean,
that's right. Principal, you and I were talking about that. We find, and as a designer, again, I count it a real privilege for people to have made a lot of my designs over the years, and work with people like yourself. And I find that if you're purpose driven, if you're trying to accomplish a certain task with a design, or you're trying to fulfill a certain need, find a solution to a certain problem with a knife design, a lot of times people follow that same path. If you're out truly using knives in the woods, and like I said, I mean, I find a lot of times too, I start off with a certain path in my designs, but it ends up taking on a whole new shape. Other times, I completely adhere to the shape that I have in mind and I make it, but the purpose that it accomplishes is much different than what I intended in the beginning. You start off with a chopper, and you may find a lot of people with that knife that really like to use it for, more little kitchen work or something, right? So the user, that's what is great about, having the privilege to be a designer and work with things like that, is not only yourself there, you have a unique design, and I really like the shape of that. And what you've done is you've taken and added some flow to it that's going to make what basically looks like probably the same concept or start in your mind, and now you've added a whole lot of other purpose to it. And that's the great thing about designing is, I can take a lot of shapes that I've had from even years past, and sort of incorporate parts of the concept or parts of what I was trying to achieve in other designs, and change the handle lengths, change the guards, or even materials sometimes can make a huge change. It's something I'd like to talk to Tops about. Maybe we'll both see is maybe doing a little revamp on that knife and the Black Rhino with some different materials and a few other little changes, to make it something truly unique. Some one-off stuff, and or not one-off, but maybe a small run type of thing, a batch run of things. But that's the great thing about what Tops does too, is you're really getting a very unique, almost handcrafted piece that really stands the test of time. And so again, it's a real honor to design with them, and to be to have done the ATM. And like I said, over the years, it's really great to hear all the feedback from your listeners, other people, all the ones who've messed around with the knife a little bit, and all the different things they've done with it, because it really has a ton of uses in a little package. So
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to making that video, putting this to work, seeing what I can do with it. And I'm by no means an expert, so you'll probably see me doing some stuff I shouldn't be doing. But it's a learning process, right? So
right.
we're always working at trying to get better at our bush crafting skills and whatnot. But mostly I like to just beat up on wood.
Hey, I hear you. That's
see
where it all
see what I
starts,
can
right?
split. Yeah. It's funny, after we talked the other day too, I went back and I was looking up some of your other designs from like Condor and Spyderco, and man, looked at your Spyderco designs and I was like, oh, those are awesome. Like the rescue knife and the command. I was like,
Thank
and I can't find them. Like they were discontinued. And I'm like, oh, man, like wish I could find one, you know?
you and me both, right? I kind of wish I'd racked up on a couple of extras. Early on, you kind of forget about that. True story. I guess I still have maybe one of the very first ATMs and Black Rhinos made. And I was looking at them when you and I were talking the other day. And I beat them up, and then I'm thinking, kind of wish I'd have got some collector pieces, right? Something to, and so I can still get those. So I probably need to. Uh, chat up top, see if I can get me a couple to put in a safe or something somewhere. But
Make a
I've
shadow
always,
box.
yeah, yeah. All you'll find if you come to my house, I don't know that I have any collector knives at all. I'm not gonna say not maybe any, but if I do, it's one or two over the years that I've kind of set back. I'm a firm believer in carrying my pocket knives, and I even have a lot of customs that I've worked with great, like yourself, people who make knives over the years, and we've worked together on designs, and I carry them every day or, trade them out pretty frequently. So people ask me all the time, they're like, that's a one of a kind. And I'm like, yeah, and it may have a little bit of rust on it and it's worn out pretty good. And, I put it through its paces, but that's, to me, that's what knives are for, is they're tools. And if you don't have a good design that you can use, really, for me, there's no point in doing it, right? I know there's some show pieces out there, but for me, I like having them and putting them through their paces. So
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like there got a couple that I've done where I've only got one of them that I made, and I well, I beat on it just to see if it would hold up, you know. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and yeah, I really like a lot of your designs with Condor as well, especially when you did the video with me at SHOT Show. I really like that Mountaineer, that little Mountaineer. I was
oh
like,
yeah.
that's a really cool blade. A lot of the stuff Condor makes is really cool. I really like right currently I only own one Condor, and that's the Lost Roman.
Mhm.
Um, but this one's kind of a collector's piece for me because I bought one for me and one for my buddy, and I had his logo engraved on one side and then brothers engraved on the other.
Oh,
So
nice.
he's got one and I got one, but I really like Condor's old school feel with new school materials, I guess is what I
Yep.
like to call it.
Yep.
And like your all your designs are cool. Like they look like something that would have been going through the Oregon Trail or Donner Pass or whatever, you know. And but yeah, they're new materials, so I'm definitely looking forward to picking up some of those when they're released. Because is the Mountaineer released yet? I know it's for 2023.
It is. Yes. I don't anticipate looking for shipping until later in the year. Hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, I think the little Mountaineer, the Hunter, I think is what you're referring to. So there was a Mountaineer Trail, and
Yeah,
the original Mountaineer Trail knife, which is more of a Nesmith style sort of knife. And then the Mountaineer Hunter, which is the one you and I looked at. That particular knife is more of your bird and trout, narrow profile, so about the opposite of what you have there in the ATM, very narrow
oh, yeah,
profile blade. And, made to kind of get in and work game, little kitchen duties, bushcraft. I call it an American bushcraft knife because to me, it has features of what we would call an American sort of style of design. But it very much sort of would be what I would think would be something that would be a take on the traditional, sort of Scandinavian type of knife. Has a lot of a feel to it of Scandinavian, but it's a little bit Americanized in the grip structure, and I put the little place on the back there for thumb rest, lifting a pot, doing some different things with it. So
yeah, yeah. That's a really cool knife, and I like the set you have too with the machete, the hatchet, and the what would you say was about 5-inch blade
yeah,
on I
yeah,
can't
I
remember
call
that.
that a camp knife. I've
Yeah,
tried to come up, working with Condor. We like to keep it simple, and I got to be careful. Joe and I were kind of laughing about it at the show, keeping up with all these different names because a lot of times you crank out a design and you kind of throw a name to it, and then you can't even remember what it was or what you were thinking at that time when you come up with it. But I've tried to stay a little more standardized. So yeah, that's the Country Backroads series. And
yes,
I really think it's going to be popular. You and I were talking about that. It's very lightweight. It uses a lot of traditional materials in that. It has the stacked leather, the hickory, but we still added in there, you still got like the micarta spacers that give it that nice red and white spacer in between the leather and the hickory. But they turned out to be very well balanced knives, and the hatchet, and they're lightweight. But you are seeing traditional materials, leather sheaths. And like you said, though, using modern steels, things that are heat treated. Condor really understands functionality. I mean, they make things that are made to be used in agriculture and in the jungle and outside every day. They make hard use tools in their mind, and so um, they really fit that profile. But yeah, that camp knife is in my mind, sort of, and again, it's sort of an Americanized version on a much larger or taller, also blade height. So you have a very high saber grind, and you got to be careful. It can have, maybe not have the robust features that the more traditional bushcraft knife might have with a different grind. But it is still a strong grind to be that high, and it's one reason we chose it. But it also gives you a lot of nice cutting ability when it comes to doing camp chores, I call it. The real, cutting rope, cutting food, game, things that you're going to find that you have to do around the camp, that if you have the hatchet and the machete and things like that, you use those for the tools, what they're intended to do, then you're probably not chopping so much with that knife. But I still try to think of it, if this is the only thing I've got in the field, I don't want to hinder it too bad. Just like the ATM, to kind of come full circle, we had to put a little bit of a swedge on top so that we could get enough of a point that if you wanted to use it, it wasn't kind of a goofy axe, really. It really
Yeah.
was a hybrid knife axe combo. So,
And I mean, that is enough of a tip. One of the things I like to do when I kind of do my little testing videos is I have a catalog that's about that thick, and I'll stab it with it, and just to see how much penetration. And I'd be willing to bet I'm going to probably get about that far in there. So
yeah.
yeah, if you had to get in there to get like an animal started, yeah, there's enough of a point there to get under the skin to start that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I kind of call it the never ending point too, because like you said, with that art, you made a really nice motion there. Once you start, the edge really then helps you, it's a continuation, right? Because it's an infinite, it just ends at the edge, right? Or at the tip. So, it does sort of give you, where if you have a steeper drop off from the tip, sometimes you have to change your hand angle or your wrist angle a little bit to do work with it. So it works really well.
Cool. Yeah, this thing is pretty awesome. Like I said, I like it. I like just about everything Tops makes, but this has got a really cool feel to it. Like I said, it's like I'm really curious. I really want to see how well I can chop with this, doing the snap cutting on a log. See, I think it's got enough weight behind it where I think it's going to do. I think it's going to do really well. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to get outside and get started on that.
Yeah. Video. So make sure you tag me in that first. I want to see how all that went for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll for sure. I'll send it to you. Well, man, awesome, man. Hey, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me. Hopefully we can do this again. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know it's getting late in the day for you in your time zone. But I do appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me, talk about your designs and some of the theory behind it. And, hopefully I can do this with more people and come back and do it again with you. I think this is something I want to do with my channel a little bit, is try to incorporate a little bit more of these type of interviews with people in the knife industry, just to, a lot of people out there like knives, but don't maybe not necessarily know a lot about the design process or the manufacturing process. And I think it'd be pretty cool to start getting that type of information out there, to people that love knives like we do. So, I do thank you.
You're welcome. And I appreciate you letting me share. I do think it is important. A lot of times people ask me, what is the thought? Sometimes it's like I said, you and I talked the other day. It's just a simple. I live in the beautiful mountains of West Virginia, so a lot of my inspiration comes honestly from skylines, or from shapes that you see in the wilderness, or in the rivers. I mean, I live right at the New River, so I get an opportunity to raft and hike and, see some really beautiful places here in the Appalachian Mountains. And a lot of times that sort of inspires, you see a shape and you think, hey, that would fit a need really well that I have. And you'll probably see a lot of mountainous if you kind of look at the profiles and stare at them for a moment. You'll see terrain features, I call them sometimes in my designs, and they prove out to be really handy features. I think if you're going to use something in nature, it mimics nature. That's probably a pretty good start, right? So, same thing happens a lot of times with things you design for different geographical areas. The jungle, it's thinner, like a lot of leaf patterns you see in the jungle. It's really unique, and we can talk more about that. I mean, you're welcome anytime. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to pick my brain, and you always welcome to give me a call, and we get some of those Condor knives in, or back up or the Kisley are. There's a lot of other things coming and going, so we'll keep in touch and keep you apprised of what's happening next. So,
Oh no, absolutely, man. And you know what? I'm really glad I got to meet you at SHOT Show, and feel like I think we hit it off pretty good there, and I feel like I'm definitely making a new friend in the end, and I greatly appreciate it.
Same here, Jason. I appreciate you.
All right, buddy. Well, I'll let you go. I know you got some stuff you got to do here because it's getting late for you. But
yeah, it never stops, right? So
yeah. So, and I think I only had like a 30-minute time limit on this Zoom meeting anyway. So we're getting pretty close to that. But well, thank you again, man. I greatly appreciate it. And I will leave links in the description of this YouTube video to a lot of the stuff we talked about. So that way, if people want to go and look up like those discontinued Spyderco models, and maybe we can talk them into bringing them back.
All
That'd
right.
be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously all the Condor stuff, and as well as the Black Rhino and the ATM. So I'll put links to all those in the description of the video. So
Perfect.
awesome. Well, thanks again, man. I greatly appreciate it. You have a great night. Everybody else, stay safe, stay sharp. We'll see you next time.